Hello and good day. I'm your video lecturer for Educational Assessment. In topic 2, the focus is identifying what to assess. Before we proceed, let us take a look at the learning outcomes for this video. By the end of this topic, you should be able to identify what to assess in cognitive learning outcomes and identify what to assess in affective learning outcomes. The psychometricians propose that schools should seek to assess 3 domains of learning outcomes, namely cognitive learning outcomes, knowledge, affective learning outcomes, emotions, and psychomotor learning outcomes, skills. However, in actual practice, assessment tends to emphasize assessing cognitive learning outcomes of specific subject areas. For the benefits of the classroom teachers, we shall look at the assessment of cognitive outcomes first. Remember the well-aligned assessments that we have discussed in video 1. What do well-aligned assessments look like? This table presents examples of activities that can be used to assess different types of learning objectives adapted from the revised Bloom's taxonomy. The first column shows the first 2 levels in Bloom taxonomy. The second column contains keywords for that level. The last column has some examples of appropriate assessments for this level. Higher order thinking, known as higher order thinking skills, HOTS, it's a concept of education reform based on learning taxonomies such as Bloom's taxonomy. The idea is that some types of learning require more cognitive processing than others, but also have more generalized benefits. In Bloom's taxonomy, for example, skills involving analyzing, evaluating, and creating new knowledge are thought to be of higher order and requiring different learning and teaching methods than the learning of facts and concepts. Higher order thinking involves the learning of complex judgmental skills such as critical thinking and problem solving. Higher order thinking is more difficult to learn or teach, but also more valuable because such skills are more likely to be usable in novel situations. Examples of appropriate assessments for such learning objectives will be shown in the next figure.
Most educators are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, a model that classifies different levels of human cognition in thinking, learning, and understanding. As a teacher, you've likely used this taxonomy to guide the development of curriculum, assessments, and instructional strategies. But how is this model affected in an age of digital technology, and how might it influence your instructional design? Let's take a step back. Bloom's taxonomy was created in the 1950s by educational psychologist Benjamin Bloom and his colleagues. The 3 lower levels, knowledge, comprehension, and application, are more basic levels of cognition, also called lower order thinking skills. This would include concrete thinking, memorization, and understanding. The 3 upper levels, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, referred to as higher order thinking skills, include abstract, critical, metacognitive, and creative thinking. Some have likened the model to a mountain or a stairway, where teachers set learning objectives and design learning experiences to guide students to higher levels of thinking. The taxonomy has become an important model for structuring students' learning processes. In the 1990s, Bloom's taxonomy was updated by a group led by David Krathwohl, one of the original authors, and Lauren Anderson, a former student of Bloom's. To make the model relevant to 21st century learning, one of their main changes was updating the nouns associated with each level to action-oriented verbs. This differentiation positions thinking as an action-based process rather than one of passive acquisition. For example, knowledge was replaced with remember, analysis was changed to analyze, and so on. They also reordered the last 2 steps. Evaluation, which was previously at the top, was moved down, and creating, formerly synthesis, was moved to the top. With this framing, educators have several different verbs, questions, and instructional strategies associated with each level. In recent years, there have been many iterations and metaphors for Bloom's taxonomy, including an orange, where the 6 levels are distributed more equally, moving cogs, representing an interworking system in which creation is dependent upon all of the other aspects. Or a flipped pyramid, illustrating an emphasis on higher-order thinking skills. But in thinking about how technology affects this model, consider it as Bloom's digital taxonomy. This updated version aims to expand upon the skills associated with each level as technology becomes a more ingrained and essential part of learning. For instance, some propose that new action verbs can be applied within each level. Let's take a look at creating, in which learners are designing, inventing, and constructing a piece of work that shows what they know. One could add new digital verbs to creating, like blog, remix, or program. These verbs refer to possible learning activities that incorporate digital technologies in which students are creating. Adding digital verbs to the taxonomy also promotes 21st century skills like communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. Others have taken the 6 levels of the taxonomy and aligned them with technology tools that help foster each level. For example, as a teacher, you can think about how to integrate apps and websites that help schools in transforming student thinking at different levels. So, as you weave technology into your teaching, ask yourself, how can the tools you use support different cognitive levels? Which tools help you address lower-order thinking skills? And which can help challenge students' higher-order thinking skills? Consider how Bloom's digital taxonomy can help you identify ways to design technology-rich learning experiences for your students.
On the other hand, affective characteristics involve the feelings or emotions of a person. Attitudes, values, self-esteem, locus of control, self-efficacy, interest, aspirations, and anxiety are all examples of affective characteristics. Unfortunately, affective outcomes have not been a central part of schooling, even though they are arguably as important as, or even more important than any cognitive or psychomotor domain learning outcomes that are targeted by schools. Some possible reasons for the historical lack of emphasis on affective outcomes include the belief that appropriate feelings develop automatically from knowledge and experience with content and do not require any special pedagogical attention, and attitudinal and value-oriented instruction are difficult to develop. Teachers may not realize that they can actually increase their effectiveness by considering the affective domain in planning courses, delivering lessons and activities, and assessing student learning. Let's have a look at the different levels of affective taxonomy and see how to apply this taxonomy to a value such as honesty. The figure shows how the affective taxonomy may be applied to a value such as honesty. It traces the development of an affective attribute such as honesty from receiving level until the characterization level, where the value becomes a part of the individual's character. So far, we have identified the different levels in Bloom's cognitive and affective taxonomy. You have also been shown the various activities appropriate for those levels. Due to time constraints, we will not discuss the psychomotor domains here. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.